Man, oh man. Good morning, good morning. Freedom marchers, freedom lovers, freedom family, and freedom fighters. Snapzilla Gorillas in the building. And we're going to get into this, you guys. Just got through doing some Muay Thai drills in the park with some jump rope and some sprints. You know what I'm saying? Man, it felt great. It was cold as hell. It's still cold, but, you know, when I got out here, it was like 38 degrees. Now it's 47 degrees. I was a little stiff at first due to the cold, but, yep. Anyway, how y'all doing this morning? I know some of you guys like, goddamn, this again? Yes, this again. Yep. You know, I'm like a dog with a bone. So that's just how I operate. But this is really not about bashing, right? This is not about bashing Knockoffpittypat, right? Because that's easy. He's easily bashable. This is about pointing out the fact that this guy, along with other boxing channels, more so him than any other, have built a lot of their base on Devin Haney Hate, right? I would say half, for Knockoffpittypat, half of it is Tonka Truck Davis D-Writing and protection, and the other half is Devin Haney Hate. They kind of go hand in hand together because clearly Devin Haney used to be Tonka Truck's contemporary. No longer is that the case. Yeah, Tonka Truck Davis is not on Devin Haney's level, never will be. And so now, all he has left, him in particular, all he has left is the Devin Haney Hate. He needs that Devin Haney Hate to maintain his channel. That's just my opinion based on what I've seen, based on what he said out of his own mouth. Salute to Lit House in the building. Walaikum assalam, brother. Lone Star, salute to you. He says, yo, what up, fam? Indeed. Oh, Steph Brown? Oh, that's what's up. Salute to you, man. Salute to you, Steph. Mahari Nation, salute to you. Yes, he is useless. I agree with that, Mahari. Salute to Abel. Listen, the Devin Haney Hate is all he has left because Tonka Truck Davis, well, he'll never measure up. He'll never measure up to the glazing, ball rubbing, and baby munching that Knockoffpittypat has been doing over the years, right? And this is very clear now because, well, Tonka Truck Davis may be facing some time up the river, right? So you might see a time in boxing, maybe a number of years, where Tonka Truck Davis will no longer be able to participate. So now, what is the new mission statement for a guy like Knockoffpittypat 86 TV? Aside from hitching his wagon and he's going to attach himself to Abdullah Mason, right? That's what he's going to do. But the problem with that is he won't get the engagement that he gets with the Devin Haney Hate or with the Tonka Truck Davis ball rubbing. He won't get that level of, he won't get the engagement, right? Because Abdullah Mason keeps his head down. You know, he's very disciplined. You know, he hasn't garnered any hate from anybody yet. There is no Tonka Truck Davis for Abdullah Mason to start hating on Abdullah Mason for. So in reality, yeah, he'll put his support behind Abdullah Mason, but it won't amount to anything. Not really, because Abdullah Mason is going to probably clean up 135. There's no one down there that's going to, uh, uh, they're not going to attract the amount of weird infatuation that Tonka Truck Davis drew in. It's very fascinating when you look at it. I don't think there's any other fighter in the history of the sport of boxing that had that level of fascination from grown-ass men. But, it is what it is. See, now all they have left, guys like Knockoffpittypat, is to hate on Devin Haney. Because the future for Tonka Truck Davis is extremely unsure right now. And now he finds himself without a home, essentially. So now his home is basically to run around throwing around Devin Haney Hate. And it's kind of sad, but this is the reality. So when I was talking about last night, I was going over, I was talking about the Subriel Matias popping dirty and how I feel like there will be no repercussions for Subriel Matias. Mahari Nation says the excuses are running dry. Goddamn phone call. I had to reset. Salute to Stephen X in the building. No sound? God damn it. Can you guys hear me? Makeup brush. Salute to, thank you. All right, I appreciate you. Salute to Jay Will. All right, now, when I was talking about Subriel Matias popping dirty and how there will likely be no repercussions, Knockoffpittypat was live. Salute to J-Man in the building. Thank you, sir. Knockoffpittypat was live celebrating this idea that the PBC will not allow Rolly Romero to fight Devin Haney, and basically Devin would end up having to fight King Ryan again. It's kind of wild because, well, the first thing Devin tried to do was a rematch with Ryan Garcia. And now Tonka Truck is trying to convince people that PBC is basically going to block Devin Haney from trying to unify, right? He thinks that's a good thing, right? He thinks it's a good thing for the PBC to try to block a unification bout between Rolly Romero and Devin Haney. This is what we're amounting to now. This is what we're stooping to, right? Well, King Lion Ryan Garcia is trying to fight Mario Barrios for his strap. So that was already in the works, right? Rolly Romero is trying to fight Pacquiao. That's in the works. Devin wants to go after the belt. Devin wants to unify. So because Ryan Garcia fucked up the whole program when he lost to Rolly Romero in the first place, Devin had to divert a little bit. He had to take a different path, a better path, in my opinion, when he fought Brian Norman Jr. He mollywopped and demolished Brian Norman Jr., and now he set his sights on another strap. Why not go after Rolly Romero, right? Again, Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios are trying to fight. So, okay, the idea, okay, let Ryan Garcia fight Mario Barrios. I'll fight Rolly Romero. And then whoever is the victor of those two bouts, they will come together to unify. It makes a whole lot of sense, right? Salute to Queen Mother Shaquila in the building. Salute to you. Thank you for coming through. Salute to you. Salute to my brother, Drew. Salute to Drew. Thank you guys for coming through. Yes, strap season about to get a lot bigger, but understand what they're now trying to do. because Devin is trying to unify. The idea now is that trying to unify is the new duck. Yes. That is the new narrative. That is the new campaign to convince you that trying to unify is ducking. Yes. Because I couldn't believe my ears. No Sense was in his panel. And let me tell y'all something. Drew can attest to this. See, yes, Eddie Hearn is going to do the same thing. Eddie is going to play interference, and now Knockoffpittypat is trying to convince us that the PBC is going to try to stop Devin from unifying with Rolly Romero. And he thinks these are good things. So now, what they do is they form a mob and they go to other channels and they spread these bullshit narratives. This is what they do. No Sense, the usual suspects that, Knockoffpittypat and Fanon has attached to them, and they go around and they start spreading bullshit. And all the bullshit that you guys see all the guys going to Drew Titan's channel, going to BF's channel, going to 7A's channel. They are all being orchestrated by the usual suspects, right? This is what they do. So now they're in there talking about hiding behind the belt. That's what they're saying Devin is trying to do. By trying to unify with Rolly Romero, Devin is going to be hiding behind a belt. But from who? A-class boogeyman, Devin Haney. Exactly. But no, Devin is running scared now. Devin is trying to unify because he's ducking the smoke. They're saying, oh, Devin doesn't run to the smoke. Oh, he's ducking behind the belt. Oh, they're saying, oh, the Devin Haney fans are saying that, Devin is running to the smoke. No, he's hiding behind belts. Now, trying to get belts and trying to unify is hiding behind a belt. The level of hate, the level of Devin Haney hate is unprecedented, and it needs to be studied. It needs to be studied. There needs to be a DSM category for the level of hate Devin Haney receives from otherwise logical, or one may seem to be logical, right? You would think that. But this is what they have to cling on to, because they have invested so much in the Devin Haney hate and the Tonka truck glaze, that now that Tonka truck future is uncertain in the sport of boxing, they need something. And that's something that they need. They need to continue the Devin Haney hate campaign, and they will go to any lengths to do so. Now, Bill Haney talking too much crap, that's why. Y'all have been saying this for years. What's a kid's toy? Tonka truck? Yeah, that's exactly what. Yeah, that's why he's Tonka truck, because it's a kid's toy. That's the whole point behind me calling him Tonka truck. Right? That's the whole point. Yeah, thank you for reminding me why I did that, why I call him Tonka Truck Davis. Anyway, salute to Impulse X. Now, because of this, listen, man, and it's not just Knockoffpittypat, right? It's the Buckeyed Fool, Showbiz, the man-child, or as Drew Titan calls him, Showbiz, the grown adolescent. Guys like him, guys like y'all know him, the usual, the Sean Porter, Tim McCoon Bradley. Now Tim McCoon Bradley is doing the same thing. Tim McCoon Bradley is now running around talking about who Devin is going to lose to next, why he's going to lose to this person, that person. The Devin Haney hate is real. But the difference between Tim McCoon Bradley, Sean Porter, you know, Showbiz the Man-Child, and others, between those guys, Punch Dumb and all these other guys, between the difference between them and Knockoffpittypat is that they have other things. They have other things going for them outside of just Devin Haney Hate, right? They don't need to use Devin Haney per se. They don't need to use Devin Haney like Knockoffpittypat does in order to get the engagement that they like to enjoy. Bill Haney is best at his job. J-Man says, cut that shit out. Bill speaking gets him out of the body. Yeah, absolutely. Salute to Suge Knight. Wu-Tang versus NWA. Is that a question? I don't really. They're different, right? Wu-Tang and well, I wouldn't say they're super different. I don't know. I don't think I would see when I listen to NWA, I listen to NWA for completely different reasons than I would listen to Wu-Tang. But anyway, the Devin Haney hate is all that Knockoffpittypat has left. But unfortunately, there are enough casuals that cling to Knockoffpittypat to create problems in the sport of boxing, because they don't just have Knockoffpittypat. See, what they do is they go around, they go between these content creators that I mentioned, and they put out these talking points and these narratives, and the narratives spread around, and it gets all, and it reaches to the very, very tippy top in the higher echelons in the sport of boxing, and they make their moves. They move and shake based on the audience, right? See, it's easy to manipulate the boxing casual. If you can manipulate the boxing casual enough, you can use that as a weapon. Because see, let's say Eddie Hearn never allows Lewis Crocker or Conor Benn, if Conor Benn ends up fighting Lewis Crocker and whatever happens, let's say he's able to get a strap from that. Eddie Hearn is going to go out of his way to stop a unification. How do you go from Wu-Tang to Devin Haney? Because someone said Wu-Tang versus NWA. That's why. You don't understand. I don't understand. I got ADD because I addressed someone in the comment section. I was talking about Devin Haney at first. Someone said, whatever, it is what it is. Someone said, just watch the fights. You see, that's the problem, GeoFan official. I want to watch fights that are going to excite me, right? I want to watch fights that put something on the line. I want to watch fights where there are challenges and all that type of shit. Well, if you have content creators out there pushing this idea that unification bouts aren't a good idea, that if you're trying to unify, you're ducking somebody. If you put this message out there and if you push the narrative that, oh, unifications aren't important, we don't need undisputed. If you push the idea that blocking fights like that is a great thing, then there's a problem. I can't just watch boxing. I can't just watch the fights when you have that going on. Salute to Slim Hussein in the building. Salute to you, brother. J-Man says, modern day black murderers row fighters is still one of the best accomplished. Yes. You're a casual fan. I like to watch skills. I'm a casual fighter. I'm a casual fan. You like to watch skills. Okay. Anyway, so I can't just watch the fights because the fights that I want to see aren't happening. The fights I want to see are not happening often enough because of people like Knockoffpittypat. This is why I'm doing this live stream. Now, you see, a lot of these people have been exposed and they're scrambling and they're doing what they call damage control. Right? Let's talk about all this shit that these people talked before Devin Haney got in the ring with Brian Norman Jr. Devin Haney, Brian Norman Jr. has all this skill, Brian Norman Jr. has all the footwork. Brian Norman Jr. has so much devastating power. Devin Haney has PTSD. He's afraid of the left hook. He ran versus Jose Ramirez. They're all pushing this same narrative. It's kind of like Operation Mockingbird in the realm of politics, except these content creators in the realm of boxing aren't getting paid like those guys are, right? They're doing this shit for free. They're doing this shit because they're driven by hate. And this fucks up the enjoyment of the sport for me. So this is why I'm doing this. Devin Haney has way more skills, but let them tell it before last Saturday, right? Devin Haney is not as skillful as Brian Norman Jr. They told you that Brian Norman Jr. had better experience. So this is what Knockoffpittypat did himself. He basically did clickbait. You see, this is the type of hypocrite that Knockoffpittypat 68 and I owe you one TV does, right? Because he got on Blue Blood Sports TV, a legend in the world of boxing journalism, for clickbait. But then he tells you guys that Brian Norman Jr. has better experience than Devin Haney. But in the actual video, he doesn't tell you how Brian Norman Jr. has better experience. Ultimately, he tells you that experience doesn't matter. Well, listen, sir, you said that Brian Norman Jr. has better experience, but you don't explain it. You say some bullshit about Brian Norman Jr. having more experience at 147. Well, that's obviously the case because Devin Haney hasn't fought at 147, but the guys that Brian Norman Jr. fought at 147 are bums. Bums. Fighters that did not add to Brian Norman Jr.'s repertoire, that did not help Brian Norman Jr. evolve. This is just the reality. But Devin Haney obviously has better experience. But see, this is what they do. They told you that Devin Haney had PTSD. He's scared of the left hook. He can't do this. He can't do that. He has so many questions to answer. Oh, the PEDs. Devin didn't lose because of the PEDs. That was at the bottom of the totem pole as to why Devin Haney lost to Ryan Garcia. This is the bullshit that they telling you guys. But it always bears out, doesn't it? You can tell where the hate comes from when the questions and the things they put out there are answered and it doesn't add up to what they said, right? They told you Devin doesn't have an answer for the left hook. He can't get out of the way of the left hook. But yet, in 2 consecutive fights, one against Jose Ramirez and another against Brian Norman Jr., he did more than demonstrate that he can get out of the way of the left hook. He demonstrated that he could actually give a left hook that could give these people problems. He wobbled Brian Norman Jr. with a left hook, did he not? But see, if you're really interested in educating people in the sport of boxing, you would go look at that Jose Ramirez fight like I did, and you can see, well, Devin Haney has definitely made adjustments from his previous fight to now. And he has done certain things in the Jose Ramirez fight that I think will translate well going to the Brian Norman Jr. fight. Then you look at the Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki fight. When you look at those 2 fights, you should be able to make the determination that Brian Norman Jr., well, he can't do shit with Devin Haney. WS40 Vernon says Shakur will do Haney worse than Garcia did him. How? In what way? Shakur would be Devin's toughest fight to win. I would agree with that, but he definitely will not do Devin worse than Ryan Garcia. In what way? And saying, Mose, to salute to you, brother. California love in the building. He hit Brian with the same counter check hook that he hit Jose Ramirez with, but they not watching film. Yes, and guess what? The Saturday morning before the fight, that's what I said he could do to Brian Norman Jr. I said if he can land those check hooks against Brian Norman Jr., it's going to be a problem. And that's exactly how Devin Haney was able to knock Brian Norman Jr. down. But they're not doing that, are they? They're not going to do that. They're just going to say, they're going to tell you, oh, well, I looked at the open workout. You see, Knockoffpittypat determined that Brian Norman Jr. had better footwork and athleticism than Devin Haney from looking at the fucking workout. The open workout, where they did some shadow boxing. This is who you guys are listening to. This is the guy running around acting like he is the best boxing analyst in the world. This is what he's telling you. Well, when I looked at the open workout, this is what I saw. Okay. Really? Yes, he said that, Lithouse. Yes. He said he looked at the open workout and determined that Brian Norman Jr. had better footwork and agility and he didn't say agility, athleticism than Devin Haney. That's what he said. Hendog 8197 says if Haney got a beautiful left hook we see it when he fought Garcia and JoJo D. Yes. They don't care about none of that. All they care about is Ryan Garcia drug cheating ass knocking Devin down 3 times. That was the highlight of all these motherfuckers' YouTube careers. That's the highlight. They loved it. Oh man, they ate that shit up. And when we found out that Ryan Garcia was a drug cheat, well, they went out of their way to make it Devin Haney's fault. They went out of their way to say, it doesn't matter if he was on drugs. Devin Haney, this and that. He couldn't get out of the way of the left hook. He was, it doesn't help with skill. All this bullshit that they tell you, right? All the bullshit that they can't back up. Worth a goddamn. J-Man says they approve 90% of boxing fans are casuals. Hendall said I was mad as fuck when he said Haney don't got no power after round 1. Like, bro, it's round 1. Who said that? Knockoffpittypat? Well, this is the bullshit they tell you. But see, this is why I ask all the time when they tell you that Dev has no power. Which Devin Haney opponent ever said that? Which Devin Haney opponent? Told you himself that then he thought. Why would you opponent told you guys that Devin Haney ain't got no power? He says WS40 Vernon says Haney best career fight is against Kambosos and Lomachenko. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay. I don't. What was? Okay, sure. You can believe that if you want. I have no problem with that. Somebody says beware of Jared M says, guys, please beware of Sandra Mooney. She's a very big troll. I haven't seen any Sandra Mooney in here. Oh, yeah, I see her. Well, yeah, I mean, he had Brian Norman Jr. leaking. He had Brian Norman Jr. leaking, broke his nose. Devin himself told you he broke his nose. Just like he broke Lomachenko's ribs. But Devin ain't got no power. See, these people are so dishonest. It's a shame. Or they're stupid. To you, says Hen Dog. I mean, that's perfectly fine. You think Linares was his best win? I ain't mad at that. But no one told you guys, no one told Brian Norman Sr. that ever fought Devin that he landed 200 punches on George versus 80 on Brian Norman Jr. Well, he didn't need to land more than 80 punches on Brian Norman Jr. He didn't need to. Right? Because Kambosos, I would argue Kambosos had more dog in him than Brian Norman Jr. because Kambosos kept putting himself in a line of fire, whereas Brian Norman Jr., not so much. Right? Brian Norman Jr. did a lot of clinching. He initiated a lot of clinching. Slim Hussein says, hate and lies gets you paid in America. Truth will always be a turnoff. Yeah, it's unfortunate. The name Norman Jr. is more of a swarmer. That's why he tried getting in the inside, but couldn't because of those clinch body shots. Those clinches, by the way, that Brian Norman Jr. initiated the most. No one told you guys had no power. That fought. It's always these guys outside of that. It's always Devin. It's always a Tonka Truck Davis. It's always these other guys. Never faced Devin Haney in the ring that tell you he's pillow fisted. I'm breaking up again. Am I breaking up now? Am I good? And see, that's the point of this live stream, y'all. All he has left is the Devin Haney hate because, like I said, Tonka Truck Davis is, well, again, who knows what's going to happen to him? Audio's cutting in and out. God damn it. Hold on. Anyway. Hendog says if you're using LTE, use 5G. I don't really like using 5G. I don't really. I hear what you're saying. I'm not a fan of the 5G. I don't really. I turn it off on my phone. I use like I have an option to turn off 5G, and I simply just turn it off. Salute to Fatima from Zimbabwe. Salute to you. Now, the reason, y'all know I don't like Knockoffpittypat at all, right? I really don't like that dude because he's really just like he's a piece of shit. He's fake, you know what I'm saying? He tries to act like this tough guy, and you know he turns into a knockoff Luther King, and tries to act like he's this Queen Mother Shakira and dropping a $20 super, giving all the liars standing 10 toes down with you, keep marching towards freedom and truth. No doubt. No doubt. No doubt, Queen Mother Shakila. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, Fatima. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you to Queen Mother Shakila so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, because that's what I mean, why not? Somebody has to counter the bullshit, right? And there are those that are countering the bullshit. Calling this dude out by name, right? Even though I fucked his name up on purpose, you know. He goes by KO, Knockout, Boxing, 80, whatever the fuck. No, that's not, his real name is Knockoffpittypat. See, he did this to himself, right? Let me tell you guys what they really wanted. The people that picked Brian Norman Jr. It's not that they didn't want him to win, and it's not like they believed he would win. What they counted on was Devin Haney having this PTSD that they diagnosed him with, right? Oh, well, this was what they counted on. They counted Devin Haney panicking, having some type of PSD, freezing up, and getting knocked the fuck out. That's what they counted on, right? All this other bullshit about Brian Norman Jr. has been, all this skill and devastating KO power. I don't think they really believe that at all. I think they tried to convince themselves. I think they end up convincing themselves at some point, right? And they thought Devin was going to get knocked. Yes, they wanted Devin to have PTSD. That's what they wanted. Really counted on, because they knew they had to know, right? I mean, if they really know the sport of boxing like they say they do, then they should know that Brian Norman Jr. simply does not have the skill set to beat Devin Haney at all. And that Brian Norman Jr.'s power comes from the bums that he knocked out. Well, not having, they put themselves in that position, right? A lot of the guys he knocked out, they just weren't on any type of level to kind of mitigate Brian Norman Jr.'s mystical power that really is not there, in my opinion. I really don't think he has any power like that. I don't think he has power like that. I think you have to be defensively unsound, and I think you have to be out of position. You have to put yourself in a position to get knocked out by Brian Norman Jr. He doesn't put you in the position to knock you out. You have to be sloppy and careless to get knocked out by Brian Norman Jr. And I don't really think there's any real devastating power that he possesses. Hendog says Devin never showed he had PTSD, and the Normans kept saying you were forced to take this fight. Yeah, I mean, well, this is what people are telling him, right? The Normans were convinced by these narratives. This is the narrative that was pushed. So many people betting against on these narratives, right? These guys helped a lot of people lose a lot of money. The Knockoffpittypats, the shows, the Man-Childs, a number of people, right? Sean Porter, Tim McCoon Bradley, all these guys, right? They helped a lot of people lose a lot of money, and they lost money them damn selves. It is what it is. It is what it is. But now that the truth has been exposed, now that the sunlight disinfected the bullshit after this past Saturday, well, now they have to change up the whole story. They're no longer calling Devin Haney pillow-fisted, right? They're no longer calling Devin a PTSD victim. Now, Brian Norman Jr. wasn't shit in the first place. Salute to Hassan Fighter. Salute to you, brother. You put $70 on Haney after round one, but lost $200 on Norman. Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, hey, salute to you for that. I don't know. Porter versus Spence told Porter versus Thurman, Gold Porter got a lot of hurt. Huh? No, they don't never stand on what they say, because what they stand on has no foundation. You can't stand on what you say if what you say has no foundation. Then you're just, you're going to tumble. Everything's going to crumble underneath you. And that's what happened. So when they told you guys all this bullshit they're telling you now, Brian Norman Jr.'s chinny. Brian Norman Jr.'s chinny. Brian Norman Jr. is a D-level, C-level fighter. This is what they're telling you now. Right? This is what they're telling you now. Yeah, Brian Norman Jr. Oh, it was a cherry pick. Now Brian Norman Jr. is a cherry pick. After all the shit they talked. Lithouse says Norman's jab is amateurish. He throws it with no plan and throws it like he just been told to throw it, and there's no way to set up his shots against a guy like Devin. No, there's no way at all, because he hasn't been up against a Devin, and they didn't know how to train to fight somebody like Devin because, well, the trainer has no experience in dealing with that. Yes, those were haters of Devin. That's exactly what I'm saying. Knockoffpittypat, all he has now is Devin Haney Hate. So now Devin has to fight goddamn Thor on Mount Olympus to get any respect. And if he fought Thor on Mount Olympus, which actually Thor is from Thor, where is Thor at? No, Mount Olympus, that's a different goddamn thing. Mount Olympus is the Greek gods, and Thor is from the Vikings. My bad. Yeah. He has to fight Thor in Valhalla or Asgard, wherever the fuck them guys is at. He can fight Thor on Asgard, beat Thor's ass, take his lightning bolt and shove it up his ass, and Knockoffpittypat will say, oh, well, Thor is just a big fat drunk anyway. He was cherry picking Thor. Yeah. See, Devin can go fight Usyk. And they'll just, and if Devin beats Usyk, they'll just say, oh, well, Usyk is almost 40 years old. He was a cherry pick. The former undisputed champion at heavyweight is a cherry pick now. See, this is what they're doing. Brian Norman Jr. was a champion at 147. Yes, thank you, Stormy B, man. Asgard, yes, Asgard. Mount Olympus. Hey, it is. Why can't Thor go to Mount Olympus? I don't, why not? Anyway. It doesn't matter what Devin does. It'll never be good enough. But they need Devin to continue to fight, because all they're going to do is hate on him, right? He's going to have his next opponent. They're going to hate on Devin. See, what they're telling you right now is that Rolly Romero is another cherry pick. Rolly Romero is horrible. Rolly Romero is trash. And they're only saying that because they think that the PBC is going to block that fight. That's the only reason they're saying it. Yes, Hercules from Mount Olympus. Yes. Hercules, what's his daddy name? Zeus? All them cats? Yes. Yes. Obsidian? Not Obsidian. Odysseus, whatever, the dude in the water. Anyway, so this is what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Right now, they're telling you that Rolly Romero is trash, that Devin is trying to cherry pick Rolly Romero. This is what they're telling you now. Yes, Devin is Kratos. Yes. Devos. So, he ends up accepting the fight against Devin Haney. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Rolly Romero is going to become a world leader boxer puncher. Trust me on that. There were people telling you that Brian Norman Jr. was a boxer puncher. And I said, no, he's not. Brian Norman Jr. is not a boxer puncher. Watch. If Rolly ends up fighting Devin, in the lead up, they will say that Rolly Romero is a boxer puncher. He's going to knock off Devin Haney's head. All these different things. He's going to kill him. They're going to tell you that. Because, well, the fight's going to happen. Now they got to push the hate campaign. And then they're going to make more people lose more money. But it's not going to matter to them because they'll get the engagement because Devin brings them the most views. Because Devin is the face of boxing. Knockoffpittypat himself told you he loves when Devin does things in the sport of boxing because that's when he gets the most views. He told you that him damn self. He told you that. Will beat Devin bad. You done lost your fucking mind. WF40 Vernon. You have lost your mind if you think Rolly beat Devin bad. Hendall, Rolly got Rolly style. I've never seen someone that awkward in my life. That's okay. Devin will pick it apart. He'll pick it apart. Rolly is very strong, brother. So is Devin. Devin is very strong at 147. Have you forgotten about that? See, now, All of a sudden, it's going to go. That fisted, chinny, weak motherfucker. They're going to forget all about Brian Norman fight. And they're going to convince guys like WS-40 Vernon that he knows what he's talking about. They're going to take that. They're going to run with it. Rolly's stronger. Rolly's this and that, more powerful. That's what they're going to do. He was moving like the Terminator in last 3 fights. Absolutely he was. Salute to Brother Sheldon in the building. Yeah, Brian Norman was strong. Brian Norman was powerful. He had all this footwork and devastating knockout power. What happened to it on fight night? I think Rolly gets hell. Well, Rolly might run into something. See, the way he fought Ryan Garcia that way because he didn't want to get knocked out. Well, he's not going to fight Devin like that. Because Devin doesn't fight like Ryan Garcia. Right? So, it is easy to outbox Ryan Garcia because Ryan Garcia simply is not a boxer. So, all Rolly had to do is move laterally a little bit, stay out of the way of the left hook, keep his right hand up. And it's all she wrote. And Rolly Romero is already a hooker, so the hook, don't hook with the hooker thing doesn't work for a guy like Rolly because Rolly is also a hooker, except he throws hooks with both hands. That ain't gonna work on Devin. But y'all go ahead. See, that's what we're gonna do. This fight comes to fruition. All of a sudden, Rolly Romero is gonna be this elite fighter. Trust me on that. And they're gonna convince everybody, and they're gonna run around, and it's gonna be the same bullshit, the same outcome, the same result. It is what it is. Devin picked him up and moved around him. Yes, he did. Anyway, y'all, I'm gonna get out of here. Oh man, it's been an interesting few days. All my kids were sick. Just all of them, just all sick, just throwing up all over the place, using the bathroom. Had me up all time of the night. Got my day started goddamn late. Usually I'm up at 4 or 5 in the morning, getting my workout done by like 10 or 11, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Yeah, not today. Yeah, me too. Yep. They picked up something from school. See, when I homeschooled my kids, we didn't have these goddamn problems. Anyway, it was a stomach bug. It was some type of stomach bug. It wasn't food poisoning. Stomach bug. Anyway, y'all stay tight. Y'all stay up. Y'all stay lit. I'll holler at y'all later. Jeffrey Pomakin says, shout out to my bro Mike Hawk and Hugh. Okay. Yes, the recharge is real. Anyway, much love, like, share, subscribe. And let's keep marching forward toward freedom and truth. Peace. Real Sheldon says, me and my daughter got something from her school too a couple weeks ago. Yeah. It's going around, man. It's going around. It's ass. I hate it. Peace out, y'all. Y'all stay up.